Oh my god, it's so funny. I'm sorry, I gotta stop. But Teddy Zane just just put on his community post, right? That you need all these licenses to teach music and accept payment. that's a good one, Teddy. So I guess I don't know. Let's see. Well, I can tell you just from growing up in Brooklyn that I personally have known, and I'm not even kidding you, thousands. I'm not exaggerating. Okay. I used to work for like music schools, and there was tons of teachers that, this particular school, there was Maggio Music back in Brooklyn. And he literally knew every single like Brooklyn musician, not only because of for teaching, but just sometimes he referred weddings. Mr. Maggio was a good friend of mine. I'm not sure if he's still alive. God bless him. He was older when I was a kid. He was older, so you're talking years ago. But he had a list of tons of like Brooklyn musicians for gigs. For sometimes they would come and they would do performances, teaching, and I remember it being like over 1,000 names. I'm not kidding you. I remember being so impressed with that when I was a kid because I was one of the teachers at the school, right? And I remember asking him, I'm like, how do you have all these like teachers, like a Rolodex? And he's like, Rich, there's so many music teachers and musicians in New York. Then I started thinking to myself, if that's just Brooklyn, right? How many music teachers are there in Manhattan? I mean, like, forget about it's got to be a lot, right? If that was just Brooklyn, that was just Brooklyn, 1,000 music teachers. So Teddy, say, listen to me. Here's a question I have for you, okay? How many of those 1,000 music teachers do you think had all these licenses that you were talking about? I think maybe he's somehow misinterpreting licenses. Maybe he's thinking if you're teaching for a public school, yeah, I mean, of course, listen, if you're a music teacher in like a public school setting, you need a lot of stuff besides even the college degree. I remember a friend of mine, a good friend of mine in Brooklyn is a music teacher. He had to get all types of licenses, certifications, and he had to get experience working with children. There was like so much requirement, but he was working in a public school setting. So I think maybe Teddy is mixing it up. Maybe he's thinking I'm teaching in a public school setting. If you're teaching private lessons, Teddy, private music lessons, you don't need no license. You don't need nothing. Okay. And let me tell you something, Teddy. If what you're saying has even a drop of fact to it, you're talking about millions and millions of musicians would probably get in trouble. Like millions. I mean, if we're talking nationwide, like what are we talking about? Even if you're just talking about the tri-state area, okay, you're talking probably millions of musicians. So Teddy, look, it was a terrible comeback. Like, look, I like it when people come back, and I like it when people try to give it back to me, and rip me up, rip it up, rip it up. Oh, it's my favorite song by Kiss. Lick it up, and I call it rip it up. Listen, get me back, but get me back with something solid, man. Get me back with something solid. Music teachers need all these licenses. Teddy, there's millions of people who teach private lessons. Millions. We're just talking like in New York City, Brooklyn, Staten Island. I mean, if you want to, how about this one? Let's use this analogy. Let's go nationwide now. Let's go nationwide. There's got to be tens of millions of people who teach private lessons. So you're trying to make me understand that the government, right, is going to, what are they going to do, Teddy? What are they going to do? They're going to put all tens and tens and tens of millions of music teachers in jail? Is that what you're trying to make me understand, Teddy? Or they're going to get in some kind of legal trouble? Teddy, I have not one single time in my life ever heard of a piano teacher going to prison giving piano lessons. I've heard a lot of things in my life, but never heard that. Never heard of a guitar teacher going to prison. No. I mean, not for giving lessons. Maybe if they did something else, like, for instance, start a Discord. where they weren't a licensed financial planner or a licensed financial advisor and was charging people $10 a month, then they might get themselves in some trouble, okay? But giving music lessons, nah. It's not financial advice. I don't give financial advice. I don't give legal advice because I'm not an attorney, but that was a really funny one. I'm an entertainer.